Hello, my stage 284 friends. I don't know. There we go. Hello, my stage 284 friends. How are we? How's everybody doing today? No. But can you go tell your brother? Mia's going to have to go tell her brother that we are live because he's making some crazy noises upstairs. Game players. Anybody else play games? Video game players in the house? Hi, Rob. How are you? Okay, Mia.
I'm getting a drink.
I have to wait till right now to get an iced tea.
You didn't give me time. You just started.
Okay, go tell your brother.
Okay.
I think everybody is probably outside enjoying this beautiful day today, and I do not blame anyone for that.
Michael, be quiet.
Really, Mia?
Yep. I gotta go see Coco. Okay, there she is.
It's a busy house here, I will say that. Let's see. We'll see if anybody else pops on. Rob, are you still there? Whoa, Sarah, outside and watching. Woo! I thought about trying to do this outside, and then I realized that my choices were do it inside while the dogs are outside and not have to deal with the dogs, or do it outside and still have to deal with the dogs because they would be jumping at the window. So Hi, Lucine. Hi, Kathy. Are you guys together? Lucine, are you with your grandma? Well, it's a beautiful Tuesday. For the longest time, I couldn't remember. No, you're not together. Social distancing, right? For the longest time, I kept forgetting. I didn't know if it was Tuesday. I didn't know if it was Wednesday. I don't know what day it is anymore. But I believe it's Tuesday because I think that's when I was supposed to be on here. So hopefully that's right. Hey, Becca. Love and miss you too. Well, I will get started. And I'm here talking about my main man, Mr. Bob Fosse, today. I don't know if you guys have any specific questions about Mr. Fosse, but I can give you a little bit of the background on him. He was a performer from a very young age. In fact, he had a tap number that he traveled the burlesque circuit with, the vaudeville circuit. I know a lot of you guys probably know about his background now from Fosse Verdon. But a lot of people didn't know that actually before the series. Hi, Susan. But yeah, he was a performer when he was very young, and in much the way that a young teen boy in the vaudeville burlesque circuit was, it wasn't. Let's just say he had an early education in terms of theater life, and that affected him profoundly in how he choreographed. Actually, really. Let's see what else about him. He was highly influenced by someone named Jack Cole. If y'all don't know who Jack Cole is, definitely do a Google search on him and watch some of the stuff, some of the Jack Cole choreography, and you guys will see how incredibly inspired by Jack Cole Mr. Fosse was. Let's see, why is he important? Why is he important to today's musical theater? And what did he do that was so groundbreaking? Well, first of all, he was an inventor. He was really like the father of making sure that dance choreography in musicals weren't just dance numbers, that they progressed the story, that dancers, in his terms, were not dancers, they were actors. He always referred to his dancers as actors. He didn't call them dancers. So they weren't like the dancers and the actors. Everyone was actors. That's how he looked at it. And so that's why he's so important today, is because he is the foundation of why dance in musicals kind of became really pivotal in telling the story, and not just like, hey, big dance number, woo! It was a progression of the story, and that's largely due to Mr. Fosse and his advancements. So that's one main thing that he did. Another really groundbreaking thing that he did was the specificity of movement, meaning that his movements were deceptively simple, right? But they held so much weight. They carried so much weight in something as simple as an eye look, right? So like a perfect example in Who's Got the Pain in Damn Yankees, there's actual choreography that is just an eye move. That's all it is. But it's so specific, and it happens at such a perfect moment that it really becomes pivotal to that number and the storyline of that number. So he took simple movements and turned them into something really important. Some of the things that one of the most simple movements that he kind of started incorporating was something called a slow burn. So this is also something I wanted to do today, was teach you guys some of the little nuggets of Fosse movement that are super important. And if you take a Fosse dance class, or if you are in a Fosse show and you're being choreographed in a Fosse style, you will definitely hear these terms, because these are terms that Mr. Fosse coined himself. So slow burn is a perfect example of something that was super simple but meant so much. And that is just a POV change, a point of view change. A lot of times it would be from down, and then it would grow. Something that simple he utilized in a way that was so meaningful So that's term number one, slow burn. Typically would go from down to up or from back to front. So a lot of times a performer would be facing the back and then slowly turn their head around. And that's a perfect example of the slow burn. Hi, Haley. Oh, thank you. Haley said, so glad I got to experience Fosse firsthand with you. Miss the Pippin cast so much. I remember that in Pippin. Oh, the slow burn? Yeah. I miss you guys so much too. For anybody who didn't catch Pippin, this cast took to the Fosse style so incredibly well, and I was so proud of every single one of them. My goal when I do a Fosse show or when I teach a Fosse class, honestly, is to make every person that is in the class or every person in the show walk away from that class or that process feeling like they can utilize their body to tell a story in a way that they couldn't do before. So my goal is always to make sure that the performer grows during that process, because that actually was super, super important to Mr. Fosse as well. Making sure that all of his actors, dancers, understood how powerful movement was. Let's see, what's another term that I can teach you guys? So we talked about slow burn. That was a big one. Some of you may have heard of the broken dowel walk. That's a favorite. Let's see, I have to adjust my screen now. So let's see if I can do this. So broken dowel walk was a big one. I think I chopped my head off. And it's used in, you'd be hard pressed to find a Fosse joint that didn't have broken dowel walk in it. I guess I'm just a headless dancer today. That's fine. We'll be fine, right? So broken dowel walk starts with the feet pointing in. Huge trademark Fosse movement, right? Any type of pigeon-toed walk, toeing in. And the arms are tucked back, almost like the elbows are held behind the back slightly with a broom. Yeah. So that the hands are fully behind the back, right? And so the broken dowel walk leads with the hip, and it pushes through the hip forward with the toe pointed in, walking, and the arms are going behind you. That's broken dowel. Hi, Erin. And a lot of times broken dowel was utilized with jazz hands as well, yes? Jazz hands, for those of you who don't know, harken back to the vaudeville days as well. Right? And so we've got the toed in stance, and we're pushing through the hip, and we're moving forward with the jazz hands here at our hips. So that is broken dowel walk. It's in everything. It's in just about everything. Here's a little deceptively simple thing that Mr. Fosse liked to use. And if you guys have noticed, in any Fosse work, that you'll find a moment where the hands are like this, yeah? Usually tucked in at the hips. This is called drip dry, right? So this hand movement is really, your hands are, it looks fairly simple. Your hands are just hanging at your hips, right? But the difference is that, and anybody who's taken a class or done a show with me before knows about energy, right? I talk a lot about energy and how energy moves through the body. When you are utilizing drip dry, right, wherever it may be, if it's at the side, if it's at your sides, if it's over something, again, drip dry, right? you have to move the energy through the fingers or else it looks dead. It doesn't make any sense. So again, this is one of those moments where I can just hang my hands here, right? Or I can, in true Fosse style, I'm pushing the energy through the hands, and it makes a huge difference. Deceptively simple. Deceptively simple, Mr. Fosse. So something like that, just a placement of a hand, he became famous for. And it wasn't because it was some crazy new thing that he did with his hands. It was just that he put energy in the hands, even in the simplest of positions, right? Huge difference. So that's drip dry. So you go, oh gosh, so you guys have learned 3 already: slow burn, drip dry, and broken doll walk. Hey, Kay. But if you're a male lead, you just put your hands in your pocket, right? Yeah. Or you can drip dry them. Okay, let's see. What else can I teach you guys? So there's a super famous, again, deceptively simple move that is called messing around. And this is another move that you can't watch a Fosse piece without seeing. So this is really mostly in the hips, and it's moving the body around by the hips, and it's really kind of a step move, right? So I'm going to the right. If you are doing this with me, you're going to be seeing a mirror image of me. You're not going to be going the same direction. So, but if you step right, left, and you roll the hip as you go, yeah? So this is messing around. A lot of times it was done with the hands above the head, but it can be done with drip dry. It can also be done with jazz hands, any hands you want. So I'm going to do it with drip dry. And you just go all the way around in a circle. That's messing around. Again, deceptively simple, but in order to do it true Fosse, in order to do it the right way, it has to be led from the hip. So anybody can go, right? Step in a circle. Energy through the whole body, rolling through the hip with whatever hand you want to use. Drip dry, roll it. And it moves all the way through the torso, right? So that's the simplicity, but it's deceptively simple. Energy and intention. That's right, Kate. That's what my man was all about, Mr. Fosse. Let's see, what else can I show you guys? Oh, I expected Sean Westgate to be here because Sean Westgate's favorite move in the Fosse canon. Are you ready for it? Here it comes. It's actually called the soft-boiled egg, but one of Mr. Fosse's proteges, Chet Walker, who is a reconstructor, also coined it as the Fabergé egg. And essentially, it's a hand movement, yes? Where it's like you're cupping an egg, and the reason Chet changed it to, or adjusted it to Fabergé egg, right, is because those are so delicate. And so the idea is that you're holding this egg, and you're just holding it enough that you're keeping it in your hand, but you're not crushing it. You can't break it, and you're not dropping it also. Yeah? So a lot of times messing around is done with the Fabergé egg. Now, some might just call that a roll of the hand, but it's not. It's different, right? Because it's just this rotation. And the hand stays nice and strong with the energy. Sean's Fosse knees. Well, this is Sean's favorite move, Fabergé egg. Yeah? Sometimes it's done as a roll going like down and up. But a lot of times it's used as a movement. So if I'm going to move from side to side, I'm going to use it to kind of get me where I'm going. So that's that. Soft-boiled egg or Fabergé egg. That's a big one. I don't know. The rake, that's also kind of big. That's in just about everything. And the rake is when the body is on an angle. Yeah. The supporting leg is in plie with the knee over the toe turned out. The downstage leg is also turned out and pointed. And the body is on this really lovely angle, yes? And a lot of times this is a movement piece. Sometimes it's a pivot piece. So when it moves, it stays in plie and just moves across the plate. It's real hard to do this in my kitchen, yeah? But it just moves across the plane with no upper body movement up and down, just nice and smooth. Again, like I said, though, it can also be a pivot piece, yeah? So sometimes it will go this way and then switch to the opposite side. So that's, so that is the rake. Haley's asking, is the death drop considered a Fosse move? I hate to say this, but Mr. Fosse would probably not approve of the death drop. However, I don't know, maybe he would. But because of his love for the simplistic and making the simplistic look, making the challenging look very simplistic, I don't know if that would be Fosse approved or not, but we sure know it was fun, right? What else can I tell you guys? So you've learned rake, you've learned slow burn, broken dowel walk, messing around, Fabergé egg, crescent, I guess. Crescent is a jump. So if we want to work on crescent, I can show you what crescent is. Crescent is basically a jump where your goal is to try and turn your body into the letter C. Yeah, so you shoulder up, plie, and propel yourself off the ground, and your feet and your head want to go towards the same direction. So no matter which direction you're going, if you're going to the right or the left, you're trying to create that nice arc. A lot of times it was done with the hands over the head too, so that it gave it more of that look. It's really hard for me to do that here in my home because I have wood beams across my ceiling, so I can't really do that here. But that's crescent. Direct choreograph. Oh, what's another Fosse show you would like to direct or choreograph? Oh, that's a good question, Haley. Thanks for that one. Let's see. I've done Chicago multiple times, but I always love doing Chicago because I feel like there's always room for improvement, right? And I love that about art, about dance, about theater in general. So I would never balk at a chance to do Chicago. It's one of my all-time favorites, and I love to do it. I haven't done Cabaret. Cabaret, I think, is the only show in the Fosse canon I haven't done. Yeah, I think that's right. I haven't done Cabaret, and it's the only one I haven't done. So I would love to do Cabaret, and I would also actually love to do Damn Yankees again. Damn Yankees is another one of my favorites. So those are probably the two. With Chicago, I would always love to do again. The crescent, only possible on my left, says Sarah. Yeah, the crescent is weird, right? Because it's like one of those moves that you feel like it's again deceptively simple, right? Like it looks like it should just, oh, that's easy. Anybody can do that. I can do that. But it's deceptively it's hard. It's not easy. um, yeah. Haley, did you start? You started doing the choreography right away into with you? Yeah. Let's talk about, so this is something that we talked about when we did Pippin. And so anybody who's watching that wasn't involved with Pippin may not know this, right? So there's a difference between recreating, reconstructing, or working a piece that inspired by a style, right? So I do both. I do both of those things. Some people don't. Some people only do choreography that's in the style of Fosse, inspired by Fosse style. And some people only reconstruct. Okay, which means that when you reconstruct a piece, you do the original choreography exactly as it was done when it was choreographed by Mr. Fosse. Now, there's two different schools of thought on that, right? Because his numbers changed drastically sometimes, from inception to like final performance. There's some stuff that you'll see in Chicago on Broadway right now, well, not right now, but most recently, that is not original choreography, believe it or not, even though it was reconstructed by Anne and her team, Anne Ranking and her team. But some of it is not original to the way it was done when Mr. Fosse choreographed it. So there are different groups of reconstructors, believe it or not, and they bicker sometimes. They argue about what was correct. I can tell you that the people who were in original productions, Candy Brown, Stephanie Pope, Dana Moore, Chet Walker, they know what those steps were. They know. So those are the people who can give the real reconstructions of pieces. And they know the difference. Like if it changed at the end of the run, from when it was its inception, they know what parts changed and they know how they changed and they know why they changed. So that reconstructors do the exact choreography, like a snapshot choreographic picture of what that number looked like at a certain point in time. That's a reconstructor. But then there's some people who only do inspired by, right? So their choreography is heavily influenced by or inspired by. And some of us do both. And the reason some of us do both is because there are certain pieces that are done so impeccably well that it feels like no matter how many times you try to reinvent it or put your own steps to the piece, it just doesn't work as well as the original. Anybody know what some of those pieces are? They're pretty easy to single out. Anybody want to throw some ideas out there on what some of those pieces are that typically are reconstructed, even if somebody is a inspired by choreographer or a stylistic choreographer? There's at least one in every show. Manson Trio. Yep. Haley nailed it. Manson Trio is the one in Pippin that typically is done. Yep. Oh, here we go. Wow. Okay. Yep. Everybody's on it. Yep. Manson Trio and Pippin is typically one that is always reconstructed. And honestly, Sarah reconstructed ours for Pippin, and she was fabulous. She did an amazing job. And those of us who feel super strongly about those pivotal numbers that feel like they should be reconstructed and not revamped when we choreograph, even have a hard time just adjusting the smallest of things. So in Manson Trio, for example, in Pippin, because of our stage layout, we had a situation where we had to adjust it a little bit and we had to change the formation, and it hurt my heart because it's one of those numbers. Yep, Hot Honey Rag. That was Kay and Susan both said Hot Honey Rag. That's another one from Chicago. Chicago probably has the most numbers that feel so complete that they are super hard to revamp and they just only feel right if they're reconstructed. Sarah says it was so hard, simple but tricky. That's his thing, right? Definitely was harder to learn than I thought. Right. And Sarah did such a great job of reconstructing that. But even with what a phenomenal dancer she is and her attention to detail, there were little tiny things that I had to come in and say towards the end, like, you got to focus on the hip going back here. The hip goes back here, right? So even somebody as accomplished as Sarah, phenomenal dancer, phenomenal choreographer, reconstructed it amazingly well. But unless you are somebody who has studied the style, there's always little tiny things that slip through the cracks that have to be paid attention to, right? And hips are always that thing. Hips are like the thing, right? So that is one of the things that somebody who studied the style really knows, like, where do the hips go on this? On those numbers specifically, Hot Honey Rag, Manson Trio. Oh, another one is Me and My Baby. That's another one from Chicago that is typically always reconstructed because it is so intensely tricky and so good. It's just so good that it feels wrong to redo it. Steam Heat is another one. Although Steam Heat, I think people tend to take a little more license with, Haley, but I agree that Steam Heat is one of those numbers. Yeah, Becca, our friends Becca and Adam at Broken Leg just did Pippin around the same time that we did at Stage 284. And Becca and I conversed heavily about the style, Fosse style. And she said taking Manson from a proscenium setup to a long double-sided audience was special. Yes, I'm sure it was. Yeah, things like that, though, sometimes you have to, right? Like, as much as you want to keep it intact, there are things that your stage or your performers require you to tweak it here and there. It has to happen. I mean, that's just the way it is. It has to happen. Let's see. What else can we talk about? Who's Got the Pain? For sure. Mambo in Damn Yankees is definitely another one of those numbers. Who's Got the Pain? Because, again, that was one I talked about. That was Susan mentioned that one. And I'm not sure, Susan, if you were here at the beginning, but that is one of those pieces that I talked about in the beginning that has something as simple as an eye movement choreographed into it, but is so insanely meaningful and so specific that it works. It just works. And when you start trying to take it apart and change it, it comes to that moment where you're like, why am I trying to reinvent the wheel? Like, that works. It's perfect. And when you, as a choreographer, get to one of those points with one of his numbers, that's when it's time to say, what am I trying to do? Because if I'm trying to reinvent the wheel, maybe I'm not doing the right thing. Maybe I'm not making the right choices. And it's okay. It's okay to do that. You're not talking about stealing somebody's choreography that, this is a master, right? This is a master we're talking about. And this is somebody that we study. And the reason we study him is because he was genius. And that's okay. That's okay to do that. As long as credit is given where credit is due, it's okay to do that. That's how we learn, is by studying the masters. And he was definitely one of them. I know we talked about, I know what we didn't address. The Joe Frisco. Hey, who remembers the Joe Frisco? The dogs are at the door again, y'all. I can show you another move. This is another signature move, the Joe Frisco. And this one actually you'll see in a lot of Jack Cole stuff. So that's why I said, if you don't know who Jack Cole is and you're a dancer or choreographer or just a theater buff, you should definitely look up some Jack Cole stuff, right? So this is another hip roll movement where the move goes all the way through the hips and out, and then the foot comes forward. And it rolls, and it rolls, and it rolls. And this you'll see in Hot Honey Rag. This is one of the big moves in Hot Honey Rag. Yeah, Hot Honey Rag. When they're doing this together, back to front, and then the arms come. That is the Joe Frisco. Wow, so now you guys, now that's Del Frisco. Yeah. Any questions? Any questions about Fosse style, history? Anything that I can answer? I don't know. I will say my history with Fosse and the reason it means so much to me personally. There are people who, as artists, right, whether it be singers, actors, dancers, visual artists, playwrights, anything you can think of, there are people who inspire us, yes, which is part of the reason why we do what we do. And the best teachers or the best inspirational people, I guess, are those that make us feel like we can do it, right? Even if it's something we've never done before, that we can do it. And that was my experience with Fosse. I was performing, I was traveling. At the time, I think I was doing a chorus line in Connecticut and got a call that I had been cast in Chicago at what was the name of the theater? I can't believe it! In Sudbury. It was an Equity House in Sudbury at the time. Chiswick Park Theater. That I had been cast in. Hi, Mia. Just somebody running around with a mat in our house. That's normal, everyday stuff. Anyway, I was doing a course line in Connecticut, and I got a phone call that I had been cast in Chicago at Chiswick Park Theater. Now, that was exciting enough, right? In Chicago, Chiswick Park Theater, Equity House, yay, exciting. But the kicker was that it was being choreographed and directed by Chet Walker. And that was a big deal. Chet was an original Fosse dancer. As I said before, he's one of the reconstructors. He, as a lot of you guys, especially those of you from Massachusetts know, he choreographed Pippin when it was here at Cambridge with Diane Paulus. He's a master. Okay. He is a master in my opinion. And I was a nobody at the time, and he trusted me to be in this show, and I tried to absorb everything I could from him. And not only did he trust me to be in the show, then he trusted me to understudy a Broadway lead who was playing Roxy. So not only did I get cast in the show and work with Chet Walker and all of his people, he had a whole team that was amazing that came to Chiswick Park Theater. But we got to work with all kinds of Broadway people at that point, and it was mind-blowing. And he trusted me to understudy this Roxy, and it was an incredible experience. And he made me feel like I could do it. Every step of the way, he made me feel like I could do it. So that's why Fosse, there's one of my puppers. That's why Fosse holds such a special place in my heart. Is because of that moment, that show, and that cast, and that team, and that man. Oh, thank you. Kay says, you make me feel that way, Kathleen. I'm so glad. That is always, always, always my goal. Because if we're not supporting each other and not trying to help each other grow and learn, what are we even doing here? What are we doing here? Really, seriously. Oh, thank you, Haley. Sam, my bangs have also grown out. Girl, the headband. I have no choice. I thought about trying to cut it, and let me tell you, I know better. I've done that before. Yes. Chicago, yes. Cabaret, yes. Let's get these on slates, y'all. Any other questions, you guys? If not, I think we should all get outside and get some sunshine and fresh air. Go practice your Fabergé egg and your Joe Frisco and your broken doll walk outside with your mask on. No? All right, guys, it's been super fun. I hope everybody is safe and healthy and that you enjoyed learning a little bit about the Fosse style and some of the key Fosse moves. Take care. I love you and miss you all, and I can't wait till we're able to get back together again. Bye.